Session 9. Nested loops. A nested loop is a loop inside a loop. The inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration of the outer loop. Example 11. Print each adjective for every fruit. The pass statement. For loops cannot be empty, but if you for some reason have a for loop with no content, put in the pass statement to avoid getting an error. Example 12. Python functions. A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. You can pass data known as parameters into a function. A function can return data as a result. Creating a function. In Python, a function is defined using the def keyword. Example 1. Calling a function. To call a function, use the function name followed by parentheses. Example 2. Arguments. Information can be passed into functions as arguments. Arguments are specified after the function name. Inside the parentheses, you can add as many arguments as you want. Just separate them with a comma. The following example has a function with one argument, fname. When the function is called, we pass along a first name which is used inside the function to print the full name. Example 3. Arguments are often shortened to args in Python documentations. Parameters or arguments. The terms parameter and argument can be used for the same thing, that is, information that are passed into a function. From a function's perspective, a parameter is the variable listed inside the parentheses in the function definition. An argument is the value that is sent to the function when it is called. Number of arguments. By default, a function must be called with the correct number of arguments, meaning that if your function expects 2 arguments, you have to call the function with 2 arguments, not more and not less. Example 4. This function expects 2 arguments and gets 2 arguments. If you try to call the function with 1 or 3 arguments, you will get an error. Example 5. This function expects 2 arguments but gets only 1. Arbitrary arguments, args. If you do not know how many arguments that will be passed into your function, add a before the parameter name in the function definition. This way, the function will receive a tuple of arguments and can access the items accordingly. Example 6. If the number of arguments is unknown, add a before the parameter name. Arbitrary arguments are often shortened to args in Python documentations. Keyword arguments. You can also send arguments with the key is equal to value syntax. This way, the order of the arguments does not matter. Example 7. The phrase keyword arguments are often shortened to quarks in Python documentations. Session 10. Arbitrary keyword arguments, quarks. If you do not know how many keyword arguments that will be passed into your function, add 2 asterisk before the parameter name in the function definition. This way, the function will receive a dictionary of arguments and can access the items accordingly. Example 8. If the number of keyword arguments is unknown, add a double before the parameter name. Arbitrary quotes arguments are often shortened to quarks in Python documentations. Default parameter value. The following example shows how to use a default parameter value. If we call the function without argument, it uses the default value. Example 9. Passing a list as an argument. You can send any data types of argument to a function. String, number, list, dictionary, etc. And it will be treated as the same data type inside the function. Example, if you send a list as an argument, it will still be a list when it reaches the function. Example 10. Return values. To let a function return a value, use the return statement. Example 11. The pass statement. Function definitions cannot be empty. But if you for some reason have a function definition with no content but in the pass statement, to avoid getting an error. Example 12. Hash. Having an empty function definition like this would raise an error without the pass statement. Recursion. Python also accepts function recursion, which means a defined function can call itself. Recursion is a common mathematical and programming concept. It means that a function calls itself. This has the benefit of meaning that you can loop through data to reach a result. The developer should be very careful while recursion, as it can be quite easy to slip into writing a function which never terminates, or one that uses excess amounts of memory or processor power. However, when written correctly, recursion can be a very efficient and mathematically elegant approach to programming. In this example, try recursion is a function that we have defined to call itself, recurs. We use the k variable as the data, which decrements -1 every time we recurs. The recursion ends when the condition is not greater than 0. That is, when it is 0. To a new developer, it can take some time to work out how exactly this works. Best way to find out is by testing and modifying it. Example 13. Recursion example.